day, the raging political crisis in Rivers State continues to get interesting with different twists and narratives. The judgments of the appeal court in Abuja gave some degree of reprieve to Martin Zamewule and 26 other lawmakers. The Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Martin Zamewule, has given the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, a 7-day deadline to resubmit the 2024 budget. This order was issued during the first session of the pro-wiki House on Monday, after several months. Meanwhile, a parallel session was held by another faction of the House, led by Victor Okojumbo. In another development, the Rivers State High Court in Port Harcourt on Monday issued an ex parte order barring the Chief Judge of the State and the Clerk of the State House of Assembly from dealing with Martin Zamewule and 26 other lawmakers loyal to former Governor Nyesom Wike. Justice Jumbo Stephen ordered the CJ, the Clerk, and other defendants in the suit should not act on any resolutions, articles of impeachment or others from Zamewule and 26 other pro-wiki lawmakers. Tonight, Dr. Samuel Wanosike, the embattled chairman of Ikwere Local Government Area, Rivers State, is joining me on the program as we discuss Rivers crisis and the legal logjam. Dr. Wanosike, good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us. So, there is so much confusion in Rivers State at the moment, and I can only imagine how confused and traumatized Rivers people are with this political rage going on in the state. Because on one hand, the Court of Appeal led by Justice Bada nullified the expulsion of Martin Zamewule and 26 other lawmakers because Rivers State High Court lacked jurisdiction. There is another case at the Federal High Court with Justice Okorowo extending the interim order stopping INEC and the PDP from taking any action against Martin Zamewule and the 26 Rivers House of Assembly members. That case has not been decided. And now, Rivers State High Court has given an order restraining the Chief Judge from recognizing Zamewule and 26 other lawmakers. Talk to us tonight. What exactly is happening?
Okay, first of all, we want the entire public to know the truth. So I would plead that we follow this matter from where it began from, and so that we all, including those watching or listening to us, we know who is deceiving who. And I would want to say clearly, like the warning the CJ gave today, that I think the National Judicial Council at this point should start setting up, taking steps to make sure they help sort this problem that is happening not only in Rivers State, even in Kano State and other states, where people who believe they have control of state judiciaries will be using state judiciary officers to create crisis in democratic system. Now, on the 29th of October, crisis broke out in the Rivers State Assembly, which is not unusual. It is normal that so many assemblies will have issues. What was the issue? The then leader of the House of Assembly, Right Honorable Edison Ehie, was impeached as the leader of the 10th House of Assembly, also suspended on that same sitting, alongside him and 3 other of his colleagues, Honorable Okojumbo from Bonnet, Honorable Sokari Goodhead from Ahoda West, and the man representing the governor, the governor's assembly member from Opoponkoro. They were all suspended indefinitely. So from that moment, they had issues they needed to sort out in court over their suspension. That they have not done. All of a sudden, all we could see was that the governor, with his immunity and whatever that they were doing in government house, raised an issue to say, oh, Edison is now a parallel speaker. Now the question is that in a democracy, there are rules. Even if you have immunity, you cannot write the laws of Nigeria because you're the governor of the state. It won't happen. The laws of Nigeria says clearly, for a speaker to emerge in a house, that speaker needs to be nominated and voted for. And the Supreme Court has ruled in several cases that for you to carry out any legislative business and it becomes in conformity with our laws, you have to have 1/3 of the quorum of those members. Rivers State has 32 seats. 1 person died, which has not been replaced. 31 of them were the ones who had that crisis on the 29th. Martin Samegule and 27 others are on one side, and 4 persons are on one side. The question we want Nigerians to ask those who are carrying stories that Edison was speaker, at what point was he nominated and elected the Speaker of the Rivers House of Assembly? That is for 29th of October, a different date. Now, moving forward, they now talked about the issue of December. Oh, that assembly members say they have defected. Based on that, Edison here, who is the then speaker, after the governor has gone to submit budget of Rivers State government to Edison led assembly in government house, his own assembly, that assembly has passed the budget overnight and he has signed it into law, which is very laughable. And Nigerians are watching. Now, we had a peace move. We all were invited by Mr. President, our father, to the villa. We went there, and Mr. President and the governor and the Minister of FCT, former President Dr. Peter Dele, everybody were there. We had a fruitful discussion, and we agreed. And Mr. Governor agreed, and he signed, and every party signed, and we came back to Rivers State to implement the decision of the peace accord. One of the major items in the peace accord was one, don't interfere with the activities of Martin Samegule and the 27 lawmakers. Represent the budget, the 2024 appropriation budget, which we took to 4 persons instead of 27 persons, for proper appropriation and passage, so that Rivers State can have a budget. Because as we speak, Justice Omotosho, in his judgment that was delivered on the 24th of January 2024, which has not been appealed by the governor and his team, stated clearly that by the actions of the governor, Rivers State government has no budget. And those items, and I will plead, if your studio can show Nigerians that judgment from Justice Omotosho and all the prayers that was granted. Now, moving forward, Edison Ehie withdrew when the man that gave him interim injunction came before NJC. The man said Edison Ehie lied to him, and he paid a fine of 5 million to him, and that he was misinformed. That's why he gave that injunction. Edison withdrew. Today he's chief of staff. Now the governor started dealing with Martin Samegule, sent list of commissioners, started having correspondence. Bills were passed. The bills he will not accept. 30 days will be over. They will veto him. They will continue their relationship. He was inviting them for functions, and they were moving forward. All of a sudden, the governor woke up one morning and said he wants to have his own assembly. He goes ahead to pass what they call a decree, or there's something he passed, and he said that assembly should come and sit in government house, and that Kojumbo has emerged speaker. Now, the funny part is that when Edison was there, Edison had 3 people with him. Now, Edison is no more a member of the assembly based on his resignation from the house. Okojombo now has 2 other persons with him. The question is 2 1/3 of the 31 members? So Okojombo does not exist in the eyes of the law. Let me finish, man. Now, these issues we have explained now has now been settled by the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal said, read the ruling, let your studio show it to the world, that because the man who gave Okojombo the expertise order, Justice Wele of the State High Court, lacked jurisdiction. Okojombo and his team does not exist. All actions taken by Okojombo is here null and void, including screening of caretaker committee, screening of commissioners, screening of attorney general, or any other action that Okojombo and his team has taken. Rather than go to appeal the judgment of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, the governor have decided again to flout the laws of Nigeria out of desperation and worry of what he is speculating that will happen. He has gone to another court to go and seek another injunction by a judge he just swore in a few weeks ago. Probably Nigerians cannot see that he was in a hurry to swear in that judge because he wanted him to do a hatchet job. The judge has given him an injunction, interim injunction, to stop the CJ and the clerk from having a relationship with the same people you claim that does not exist. The question is, everybody is screaming, oh, because they defected based on section 109, that their seat has been declared vacant. But they forget that the same constitution, if you call down to that same 109, they say a presiding officer will trigger that action. Who was that presiding officer?
All right, so let me come in here, Dr. Wanosike. Let me come in here.
Who was the presiding officer that declared their seats vacant?
All right, so let me come in here because I allowed you to go on with that background story because this matter has been on for a long time. And like I said, everyone is confused. But while focusing on the Court of Appeal's judgment in favor of Martin Amaewhule, some lawyers have argued that the Court of Appeal only ruled on the matter of jurisdiction and not whether Martin Amaewhule and his group are still legitimate members of the Assembly. And so the Federal High Court should be the arbiter. But the Okojombo group have said they will appeal that judgment at the Supreme Court. How worried are you that this may go both ways?
No, I'm not worried. It's their right to appeal. They should appeal the matter to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will hear the argument from both sides of the lawyers, and they will take a position. Like I always ask, if you say their seats are declared vacant, is it automatic? You cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. There must be a court of competent jurisdiction that will do so. They should tell us on what suit, who is the person or which judge or which court has declared Martin Amaewhule and other seats vacant. You see, the truth of the matter is that Nigeria, we are running a constitutional democracy. It is not a sentimental democracy or it's not a military rule where the man in the helms of affairs will decide. Like today, there was a statement credited to our governor, where our governor is saying that he is the one that wanted to help assembly members. It shows clearly that our democracy is being ridiculed. Where our governor believes that the budget spending time that he had for the 2023 budget that he inherited, which has elapsed on the 31st of June, that he can go ahead and continue spending River State money without appropriation. And that he's saying that he's not going to obey the ultimatum given by Martin Amaewhule for him to represent the budget. Even when Mr. President met with us, Mr. President advised the governor, said the right thing to do is to take the budget to the 27 members and play the game as a politician on how your budget, that even he, Mr. President, he takes his budget to the National Assembly and he goes through the rigors of making sure a budget is being passed, even when he is the president. And the governor is saying that he's only working on 2025 budget, that he was the one paying the school fees and feeding the assembly members so they cannot question in a democracy. So what we are saying is that it is their right to go to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court, and let the Supreme Court speak on this matter. If of being the House of Assembly, as the ruling of the Court of Appeal stands today, Martin Amaewhule is the Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, and all actions taken by Okojombo from the date that Court of Appeal gave that ruling, they are all contempt of court. And we are asking that for people to respect this democracy that we're practicing in Nigeria, it should not be, it's not a matter of River State. It's not a River State matter. It is a matter of what is the right thing to do. That the NJC, Nigeria Bar Association, should rise and say, we want the laws of this country respected, whether by the governor or by whoever is at the helms of affairs. That is the right thing to do.
All right. So at the moment, the House has written to the governor, and in that letter, the House gave the governor a 7-day ultimatum to come and resubmit the budget. But it looks like the governor is calling their bluff. 2 questions now. If within the next 7 days, the governor decides to say, you know what, I will represent this budget, is this capable, is this enough to douse the tension in the state?
Of course. If the governor takes the step of obeying the ruling of the Court of Appeal and brings the budget before the House will do justice to that budget, and there will be a formal passage of appropriation. Now, River State will now have a framework via which funds of the state will be expended in governing the state. He's our governor, and he cannot govern us without the rule of law. He cannot govern us without obeying court orders. he should be a typical example as a gentleman that he is, to say, oh, this is the court ruling. Okay, gentlemen, we will obey the court. We will follow all our steps and make sure we get this and that set aside and that set aside. Not going to get interim injunctions to create more crisis in the issue. If he presents the budget today, I can assure you, Martins and all the House of Assembly members will work day and night to make sure that that budget is passed for the good of Rivers people.
All right, so let's go back to the peace agreement signed in December. Why was it hard for that agreement to work?
We were surprised. You see, when we came back from the villa, we were so surprised to see the amount of statements being issued by those who didn't even attend the meeting. In fact, some even claimed that Mr. President put the governor on duress for the governor to sign, and several statements. They even went to court. He had to he took the governor to do a broadcast to tell them, no, Mr. President did not put me under duress. I signed this peace accord for peace sake, and I'm going to implement them. And all of us appreciated him and we thanked him, because nobody would want to live in a situation of crisis. And so we watched the assembly members do theirs. Less than 24 hours, they wrote to him, withdrew the notice they gave as directed by Mr. President, and the governor resubmitted the names of the commissioners that resigned. And the next thing we were expecting was that the governor was going to bring the budget, and so that the relationship will now come in. But the governor refused to bring the budget. What we now heard was that, oh, that they've gone to court, oh, that is a political solution, that has no law that says that the governor should obey it. All of a sudden, the governor now turned and decided to call bluff the entire agreement, as he said before Mr. President. He agreed before Mr. President, because Mr. President was very specific. Because I was in that meeting as a local government chairman. The 23 local government chairmen were invited to that meeting. And Mr. President, in each item that was read out by Sir Dr. Peter Dele, the former governor, Mr. President will pause and say, His Excellency, do you understand what he has read? Are you going to implement it? Okay. He took it step by step. So there was no ambiguity in all the issue. So for me, those who kept this crisis going on, they know why they did so, because they want to line their pocket. We are seeing what's happening in our state. We are seeing where people are coming from left, right, and center to come and rip off the states in the name of the fact that there is crisis in the state. This matter was long resolved by Mr. President until the governor decided to call the agreement he reached with us, the president of the Mr. President, a bluff.
So the governor has also rejected the label of being called an ungrateful